I'd like to call the order. The advertised and stated monthly meeting, December 12th, 2023 of the Lower Moreland Township Board of Commissioners. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To introduce Vice President KURITZ for some recognitions.
I'd like to call Chris over. Chris? Chris?
Maybe you want to go with the boss.
We would really like to thank you for your time, effort, and devotion to our community, our service to our community and all the residents. You were very responsive. You were excellent to work with, and you've absolutely been a pleasure to serve with on the Board of Commissioners. This quote that I found reminds me of you. Leadership is not about commanding, it's about serving. Quiet leaders embody the spirit of leadership. They prioritize the needs of others, willingly provide support, and lead with modesty. That reminded me of you. We can't thank you enough for all your service and your devotion, again, to the township and our community as a whole. We wish you well, and we hope to see you at our community events with your lovely family.
Thank you.
And we made you a little gift as a token reminder of our appreciation. We hope you like it. And when you're relaxing, you remember us. Here it is.
I love it. Thank you.
I kept the box. Because every time someone gives me these, I always break the handle. So I'm going to give you back the box.
All right.
And put it back neatly in the bag. And there's a little card in there too, from all of us.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Next, Doc. Doc, I had to write all my feelings down so that I don't get so teary-eyed.
And even then, we're not sure how.
We're not gonna, this is gonna go. I have tissues in my pocket, but I'm an emotional person. Doc, tonight is bittersweet. I'm so happy for you and your family and for this next chapter in your life. And on behalf of the whole board, we all wish you very well. I just can't believe it. Has it really been 12 years, Doc?
It has.
And where has the time gone? You know, so I can still remember when Doc and I probably first met. We didn't know each other very well. It was at Pine Road, and then we ventured onto Murray Avenue through our children. And we were actually like trip parents. We went on the trips and we watched the kids to provide safety and security for them. And that's how we met, right, Doc? Through one of our children. And here we are. It's ironic. We wind up years later on the Board of Commissioners, and we had an opportunity of working, you know, in this role to really get to know each other at, you know, a different level. And I feel really fortunate to have been able to get to know you more. And you're a terrific person. So with this being said, over the years, your love for this community that I've seen, it's been evident in so many ways. We could always count on you, Doc, supporting our community and our schools and everything. I could see Doc walking in his scrubs or in his khaki pants with his scrub shirt on or his commissioner shirt. Doesn't matter any time of the day or night. Doc comes in and is quiet, cool, calm, kind presence. Doc comes strolling in at every event, and here's Doc. No matter what you had going on in your life. I mean, just our last event that we had here, our fire prevention day. Doc, what are you doing here? You were just at a convention in Harrisburg. He said, I had to be here. Drove from Harrisburg to come back for fire prevention day. His father had passed, and it was Earth Day. He was in Cherry Hill at the hospital with his father, and he drove back to come to our Earth Day event. This is Doc, and you're humble, strong. These are the words that remind me of you. Strong, quiet, calm, caring, gentle leadership to all of us has always been appreciated and noticed. And it just, we really appreciate you. So Doc, when I'm scrolling through and saying, what reminds me of you so much, but this really stood out. This quote, the true measure of quiet leadership is the positive ripple effect it creates in the lives of others. Quiet leaders have a profound impact that extends far beyond their immediate circle. Their influence spreads like a ripple in a pond, inspiring and uplifting others to become leaders in their own right. Doc, I, as well as the board, would like to thank you for leading with humility, fostering collaboration, and inspiring all of us. I know you've certainly inspired me. You've made an impact and a difference in Lower Moreland, our township, our community, our neighboring communities, Montgomery County, all over. So I want to thank you. Our board wants to thank you for all the years of your devoted service. 12 years. It's quite an accomplishment. After all these years of attending all these meetings, I don't know what you're going to do next month, January, the second Tuesday. Your car might drive here on autopilot, Doc. You might not know it, but you might be at the hospital and it might just drive you here, the GPS, because it's probably programmed in your car. So just in case you feel left out or you're shocked, Leah might or EJ might send you the link, right? But we want to present you with a few gifts. It's just a token, and we can never repay you for all the hours, the time, the effort, and the energy that you have put in. So first, we have the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners. This is for 12 years of service as a commissioner. You are welcome. This is a flag. And it was flown over the United States Capitol. And at the request of the Honorable Madeline Dean in Washington, D.C. So this is beautiful. Picture. And next, I mean, we had a hard time with this, EJ and Leah and I, and I'm an electronic genius, that's for sure. But thankful for all these amazing young people with their strength and energy and your inspiration, everybody's inspiration. We tried to pick, when we had compiled all these pictures, wow, we didn't realize all the events you were at and all the accomplishments. So we tried to pick out just a few. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, but it says thank you for your dedication and service, President Dr. SIRKEN. And I think you're really gonna love some of these pictures on here. And when you finally sit down and relax, hopefully you have your coffee or your tea sitting out, you remember some of these awesome times.
Thank you.
But there were so many more.
Next, we're going to have the appointment of the building officials and the zoning officers. Can I have Ted and Jill come forward? You could just face the audience.
Take eye contact with one person.
So I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 23-28, appointing Jill Mattis and Ted Middleman as building code official.
Second.
Any public comment? It's been motioned and second to approve resolution number 23-28, appointing Jill and Ted as the building code official. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Any
opposed? The ayes have it. Next is a motion to approve resolution number.
You have more roles than that.
Next is a motion to approve resolution number 23-29. Also appointing Jill Mattis and Ted Middleman as the zoning officer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any public comment? It's been motioned and second to approve resolution number 23-29, appointing Jill Mattis and Ted Middleman as the zoning officers. Congratulations.
David, just want to confirm the vote on that last.
Oh, yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nice. Thank you. Under internal affairs. Review and consider minutes of November 14, 2023. Any commissioners have any comments or corrections? In hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of November 14th, 2023.
Second.
Been motioned and second to approve the minutes of November 14th, 2023. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Under item B, review and consider December 2023 bill list. Do the commissioners have any comments about the bill? Any comments from the public? Then I'd like to make a motion to approve the December 2023 bill list.
Second.
It's been motioned and second to approve the December 2023 bill list. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Under item C, review and consider adoption of the 2024 budget. Last month we voted to advertise it. Tonight is our motion to actually adopt the 2024 budget. Any of the commissioners have any comments?
Well, looking at it, how long is the lead time to get the new cars for the new police cars?
So the new police cars that are in the capital budget, we've actually already purchased, which we had discussed with the board back in maybe October.
Yeah, it's just that the old ones haven't even, they're not even at,
100,000 miles yet.
they're not yet,
Correct.
yeah. So it seems like next year we're gonna have to review the, just want to put it on record that I think we really need to review the 100,000 mile thing and where we are in the parts. Okay.
Any other comments? Any public comment before we adopt the 2024 budget? Then I would like to make a motion to approve and adopt the 2024 budget.
Second.
Been motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Under item D, review and consider authority to acquire Huntingdon, Pike and Buck Road parcel. So just to give you some of the background, we had a fire study done more than a decade ago. And it identified that the intersection, that spot, as a prime location for joint fire service between our community and Bernathen. We've already acquired one parcel to complete that. Our facility study also identified that in order to really do an adequate job for a new firehouse, we would need the second piece to make it complete. I'm gonna turn it over to Solicitor Rice to explain, the process of how we would go about acquiring that parcel. And that's at the corner of Huntingdon Pike and Buck Road.
Correct. Well, the parcel's 3.75 acres, it backs up to the high school. And is next to the parcel that the township currently owns. What the resolution does is it authorizes the acquisition, it doesn't authorize yet the condemnation of the property, but it authorizes negotiation and acquisition. If the next step in order to acquire it by eminent domain would be to file something with the declaration of taking with county court. That's something that we would come back to the board to spend some discussion back and forth between the township staff and representatives of A&C. They've expressed some interest with some conditions that will have to be explored. But at this point, this is going on the record, a desire for the board to authorize township manager and myself basically to try to negotiate an agreement of sale for the property. There is an appraisal that's been done. There's an offer that's been made based on that appraisal. So this is the first step. The next step would be to come back if there isn't an ability to amicably acquire the property, to come back and get further authorization to pursue eminent domain. And that could be months down the road. A&C has moved very slowly in terms of information back and forth, so it may take some time to get to the point where we know whether or not they're willing to sell and at what price.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I do. I'm afraid this is the beginning of a snowball. And because in section or chapter 3, I think what's it called? Chapter.
We call it paragraph.
Paragraph 3, thank you. It says that the township solicitor and the proper officer of the township are hereby authorized to attempt to acquire said property by agreement. However, if said property cannot be amicably acquired, they are hereby authorized to file a declaration of taking. This sounds like we've already authorized a declaration of taking.
I think it's a stepwise approach, but it allows them to, do what we have to do to acquire it. But if we can't negotiate it.
But I don't know, I don't know about, I know that you're on board with purchasing this property, but I'm not yet on board with actually purchasing this property. Because I haven't seen the studies, and 10-year-old study is not enough for me to say, yeah, let's move the firehouse to this location. This is a super busy location. It might be a little better than what we have now, but I'm just not convinced that we're even ready to purchase this property. And if A&C is not ready to sell it, they're not ready to sell it. We don't have to worry about somebody else swooping in. I think this is precipitous. I think it's too early, to be doing this. And I think it's kind of a shot over the bow when it's not really necessary. I mean, these are just my opinions. But, and I know we need a new firehouse, but I don't know yet where, and I don't know yet how. And we don't know what we want to do with the township buildings yet, or how. So I just think this is a little too soon. I recognize that it's something that if you have a vision, this might be where you want to go. I just think it's too soon for us to authorize this until we have more facts in the back. Just my opinion. I don't know. Does anybody have any other questions or comments?
Right, open it up to the public comment.
Yes.
I'd just like to say, I went to A&C, so I have some of an interest there. I'm also here for the township and live in Lower Moreland. I generally do not like the idea of taking land from an owner. I also think it's hard to ask someone to engage in negotiations when you're holding a stick over their head, which is clearly doing. So I'll just say I'm not a fan of going this route. Leave it there.
Anything else from the board?
Sir, could you, is this like the legal pathway or have you
I mean,
spoken?
this is
Senior,
the typical way with a piece of real estate. You know, we made an offer, we got a response. There was more negotiation to be had. You know, the mention of eminent domain is in here because if the property is ultimately something filed in court, fact that the resolution mentions eminent domain eliminates some of the transfer taxes, to be perfectly honest. But the first step is to amicably acquire, if we can, and enter into an agreement of sale with ANC for the property.
And we can recognize eminent domain if we've come to an amicable agreement before we do the sale, can't we? I mean, we can do that later.
Could do it either way.
Yeah. Okay.
I
So we don't have to do this right now.
mean, that's a, you know, that's,
By law, we don't have to.
well, by law, either way, you don't have to do it, but, you know, this is, the township's done some other similar acquisitions, and this is the way that the township's done it in the past. But this will trigger some good faith negotiation. And we'll see what ANC is interested in. There's properties that they have some questions about that are along that whole corridor, Buck Road all the way out to County Line Road. There's probably going to be some discussion about. So this is just the first step. Before anything would be filed in court, we'll come back and get further authorization from the board.
There it comes. Open up the public comment.
We have one online.
Hi. Thank you, Ruth and Chris, for your comments. I completely agree with what you're both saying. And I guess I'm a little confused because shouldn't we even step further back? We have a more recent study that no matter how we slice reconfiguring the township has a dollar budget of something like $41 million that apparently we're not prepared to engage with. So I'm not understanding why we would engage in acquiring a piece of land, especially if, God forbid, it invoked any ill feelings between the borough and the township or the church in the township. I don't understand why we would do this before we have a financial plan and an actual township plan for reconfiguration of the buildings. Ill will is something that would not look good or feel good to anyone, close neighbors.
She's got a foster puppy.
Can we get your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm cooking dinner. Laura Calfayan, 3231 Maple Road. I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, then I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 23-30, allowing the township manager and the solicitor to negotiate and to acquire as necessary the ANC partial at Huntingdon Pike and Buck Road as described.
Second.
There's been motions and a second to approve resolution number 23-30, All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
I believe I heard it, but let's just do a roll call for the commissioners present, please.
Or so, starting with Ward 1, Commissioner Housen.
Opposed.
Ward 2, Commissioner Pace is not present. Ward 3, Commissioner Ogden.
Opposed.
Ward 4, Commissioner Canali.
In favor.
Ward 5, Commissioner Cirkin.
In favor.
Ward 6, Commissioner KURITZ.
In favor, and please note for the record that there were discussions back and forth between our solicitor and the powers that be. And this is, from my understanding, a legal avenue to move the process forward. That's my understanding.
Thank you. Motion number 23, resolution number 23-30 is approved. Thank you. Under item E, review and consider clerical contract clarification. Manager Hoffman, could you just go over those nuances, please?
Certainly. So this is just an item that is in our clerical Teamsters collective bargaining agreement. And it has to do with how holiday pay is allocated and the utilization of sick leave in relation to that holiday. There's language in the contract that is there for good reason, which is to try to avoid having employees abuse sick leave to extend a holiday period. But I think the original premise for why that is there is really no longer applicable, and we have an internal process that handles that better. So this MOU, well, and I guess to finish that explanation, essentially, if you were to take certain types of leave on either side of the holiday, you would not receive the holiday pay that the contract provides. So the premise here is to just better clarify. So to get paid for the holiday, one of the following three things must happen. One is that you either work the day before and after the holiday. The other is that you were paid for the holiday if you use vacation, personal, or compensatory time the day before and or after. And the premise for that being, obviously, some of our employees are going to travel. So if you're extending your holiday, that would allow you to be paid appropriately for that holiday. And the third one, and this is the one that's, I guess, different than what the contract says today, is that you use a sick time the day before or after. We would just require that the employee provide a doctor's note excusing absence. So then in all of those scenarios, it would work as it currently does today. So there is a memorandum of understanding which has been drafted by our labor council that would memorialize that. And we have already talked with the clerical group and they are in agreement with how this would play out. I'll probably then later need to address this with the public works group as well. But we wanted to be able to get this one done while the shop steward was still in place in that role before she takes a new job here.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the MOU with the clerical union as so described.
Second.
There's been motion and a second to approve the MOU. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Manager Hoffman, you want to continue into the highlights of your administration report?
Sure. So there were just two items that I wanted to call out. So one is just to create an expectation for something being different in my report moving forward. So with Ted and Jill and their leadership now in the code office, we're going to have them manage the subdivision land development process. We've handled a lot of like the bigger, more strategic plans to this point. So we would expect to more see like reuse of an existing building on Huntingdon Pike or a minor subdivision for 2 or 3 lots. So we're going to run those things through the code office. So a lot of the updates that I give, we're now going to have a cover memo that will start as part of the code office report in the months ahead. And then the other was that I just wanted to let everybody know, unless there is any objection to this, we've had general success with having the open play time at the Red Lion Gym. So moving ahead, if this is agreeable to everybody, that we would essentially have kind of 3 tiers of how you get access to the gym. The first is that HVAA during their basketball season, in the agreement is November through March. But we also have given some flexibility that if they need to start earlier, as long as they get approval first, we will grant that. So that would be the first priority, that HVA would be able to schedule their program during those months. The second would be that resident groups may still request and pay for permits to reserve the gym specifically for their use. The men's basketball group that has been doing that for years would be the example of that. And then third, that any times outside of what HVA has reserved for their basketball program and what has been reserved for those permits, we could then advertise kind of open play hours. So the thing that I've asked our staff to do is find a calendar module that we could add to our website so that anybody who wanted to see, hey, is the gym available for open play? And with the kind of existing facilities that are in there, which right now would be basketball and pickleball, that if you were to see that there was an open slot, you and anybody else in town would be able to go do that. And we thought that that would be one, kind of responsive to how the gym has been used more recently, and two, informed by kind of how that experience has gone to date. So unless there's any concerns, that was what I was going to instruct our staff to do.
Sounds good. Yes.
Unless there's any other questions, that was all I have for my report this month.
Questions? Assistant Manager Lee.
The only item I'd like to report is that in November, we did apply for the local shares grant application for preliminary engineering and planning for sidewalks along Huntingdon Pike and what we call the Beth Ayres streets, like the Beth Ayres section, part of the streetscape plan. Just sidewalks for existing and proposed new down the stretch from like Welsh all the way up to where we are, past up to like that shopping center where Be Well Cafe is. So that was submitted. And then although they'll be taking over for planning commission, just reporting that there will not be a December planning commission meeting, then there will be a January meeting now. And there are several applications that are proposed to be on that one. And then the only other thing, now that you've adopted the 2024 budget, I will be getting to work and getting that implemented into our system.
Great. Any questions for the Assistant Manager? Okay, next is item F. I'm sorry, item G, tax collector's report. And we have our elected tax collector in person today. Ms. Sale, you can come forward.
Thank you, Dr. Serkin. So after the November letters went out for reminder notices, we collected $42,977 just on the township alone. So the letters were very successful. The outstanding collected, the collected taxes are at 96.72%. The face collected taxes are at 98.33%. And the outstanding balance of taxes due is $99,567. And the outstanding trash to be collected is $21,700. Any questions?
Well, what happens now? Oh,
I'm sorry, Ruth.
Ms. Sale, what happens now with those amounts if they don't pay them by December 31?
Well, if they don't pay the taxes by December 31st, everything gets settled and township and county taxes are split. Township and county taxes, Chris signs off on and the county signs off on, and they go to be collected by the Montgomery County Tax Claim Bureau. So they leave my hands and go to the county, and they receive letters from Montgomery County Tax Claim, and then the tax claim collects and they're able to pay in person, they're able to pay online, and as long as they follow the instructions and stick to their payment agreements, everything is fine for them.
Yeah, I wanted that more for the camera than me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think they heard.
I'm not usually in person.
It's wonderful. You look very nice. So what's it called? Montgomery County
Montgomery County Tax Claim Bureau.
Tax Claim Bureau. So if folks get a letter from them, it is not
They do.
a come on, it's real.
I'm sorry.
If folks haven't paid their taxes and they get a letter from them, it's real.
Yes, it is. It is legitimate. It's been going on, for time. The only difference is the collectors over the years. So the county finally took everything in-house and they now run the Tax Claim Bureau out of Norristown, and everything goes for that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. I'd like to request that the tax collector's report be accepted as submitted. Under item H, my liaison report, no civil service meeting since our last meeting, and I attended the joint Board of School Directors, the reorganization meeting where they elected their new officers. And they also, at the regular meeting, they presented their school enrollment study. And that completes my agenda items. The chair now recognizes Commissioner Kurtz, Chair of the Community Development Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Dr. SIRKEN. First item, I have review and consider consultants fee schedule. In our tablets, we have a resolution to amend chapter 180 subdivision of land fee schedule. It's per the municipality's planning code, and it includes the rates for our professional consultants for 2024. This is something that we do every single year in December. Is the rates paid per professional services agreement with developers and for land development or residents for grading permits or items that they want to take on for their properties. It's the township professional services agreement, and it allows our consultants to review development plans on their behalf, and the developers pay for our consultants fees. So it's not something that residents pay for, just to let everyone know. So that's what's in our resolution. And under township staff, we have our civil engineer, our planner, our authority engineer, our traffic engineer. And under legal fees, it includes our solicitor for real estate matters, subdivision and land development matters arising from formal applications filed with the township. And we also have our plan reviewer, which is Keystone. Does anyone on board have any questions? Do you want me to review these amounts or anything? They really only went up a few dollars, like literally. Like one went up like $2, one went up $3. They did not go up that much, believe it or not, when I spoke to Chris from last year to this year, which is, to me, I was shocked. Actually, our plan reviewer, Keystone, didn't go up at all, did they?
Correct.
At all. They stayed at $65. So it's very low. And when they work for us in-house, those fees are kept extremely low. Thank you to all our consultants. Yeah, thank you. So does the public have any questions regarding this matter? Anyone on Zoom? Not, like I said, this is something we do every year. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 23-31. It's establishing the township's consultants professional services rates for 2024.
Second.
It's been motioned and second to approve resolution number 23-31, establishing the township's consultants professional service rate for 2024. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
The next item on my agenda is the building officials report. We had 53 permits that were issued for the month of November. There were 48 residential, 5 commercial. We had 663 permits issued year to date. And we had 785 permits that were issued last year to date. 37 certificates of occupancy were issued. 96 inspections by type. 73 residential, 23 commercial, that's building, electrical, fire prevention, mechanical, plumbing, right of way, stormwater management and zoning. And under that wonderful complaint violation, notices issued and days to comply and action taken. There's only 28 listed, but believe me, Jill can attest, and Bobby and everyone that answers the phones, there's many phone calls, there's many follow-up visits. And Bobby and now Ted and even Bob Shawley and our police department, everyone goes out, and our fire company, and they all help in this department. So I thank all of you. Under use and occupancy, there were 6 business UNOs. There were 7 construction UNOs for the month of November. Does the board have any questions for any of Jill, Bob Shawley, Ted? Regarding building or zoning? Anyone from the public? Any matters in your community? Anyone stockpiling? Anything bothering you? Anyone on Zoom?
No.
Okay. Next, I'll go on to my liaison report. My positions are the Planning Commission, Community Events, and Moreland Township School District. It's the DEI Committee. EJ reported there isn't any Planning Commission meeting this month, but we will have a Planning Commission in January. Under Community Events, we have some tentative dates and some dates set for the spring for 2024 events. The Egg Hunt is so graciously run by the Huntingdon Library. We have a date set for that. Commissioner Canales, the liaison, I'll have him report on that. Our Arbor Day / Earth Day event, we have a tentative date for that set in April. Leah and I are working with our Public Works Director, Steve Werner, and he's going to let us know when the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society will deliver trees, and they're available for distribution. And Leah and I are also working, this is not an event, but with Pine Road for their Township Government Unit Tour. It's been rough getting that teacher to give us an answer. We usually do it in May or June, and they take a tour related to the history of Lower Moreland Township, and they tour the township building, the police department, our buildings, our parks, and the nature preserve and wetlands, and they have a great time. And our police department, they love the police. So next is Lower Moreland Township District DEI, and it's CRSE. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion, culturally relevant, sustaining education. Our last meeting was last month, Monday, November 13th. I reported on it last month. And the school district is following guidelines from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Feel free to look this up on the district website under www.lmtsd.org. Our next meeting is scheduled in person. All the meetings are in person on Monday, January 22nd, 6 to 8 at Murray Avenue School. If anyone wants to join, please feel free to contact Carla Passetti. She's looking for people to join if you're interested. And just to let everyone know, the township is working in coordination with the school district once again. We've been doing this for many years. In coordination again with our director, Steve Werner, for Lower Moreland Township School District and the township together for a Martin Luther King Day event, which will take place on Monday, January 15th. So Director Werner and I and Leah are talking about that, and we'll keep Ms. Passetti and Mr. Miles informed. So that's about it. Does anyone on the board have any questions regarding these agenda items? Or anyone from the public? If anybody wants to join, feel free. That concludes my agenda, Chairman, for this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Kearns. The chair now represents Commissioner Canale, Chair of the Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Dr. SIRKEN. First item on my agenda tonight is the Emergency Services Committee Liaison assignment. There's an MOU with Benetham Borough for the Chief of Emergency Services position, creating an Emergency Services Committee, comprised of each municipal manager and the chief. After discussing this with Chief Showmaker and the hiring steering committee, we are recommending that a liaison be appointed to the ESC. Given his instrumental role and significant effort to get us to this point, we are recommending that Commissioner SIRKEN be appointed as the board's liaison to the ESC. The role may continue beyond his term as a commissioner. Is there any questions on this from board members? Anything from the public? No. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Commissioner David H. SIRKEN as liaison to the ESC as described.
Second.
It has been motioned and seconded to appoint Commissioner SIRKEN as the liaison to the Emergency Services Committee as described. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Next up on my agenda is Chief Scorado for your report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you. My report from November of 2023, I had a series of harassment complaints. Some were phone call and text related. Others were related from social media. We had a series of one stolen vehicle from Philmont Avenue, the case where a person left their keys in their vehicle. So again, we encourage residents to be careful, secure their vehicles and their keys. We had a whole series of thefts from autos and attempted thefts from autos, numbering over 10, and then 7 a second night. So over a course of several nights, I should say. And so again, lock your cars, make sure you don't leave belongings out in plain view inside your vehicles. A lot of the thefts were change that was stolen from these vehicles. It's an ongoing problem that our special response patrols are trying to address. A few criminal mischief cases, several drug arrests, 4 drug arrests, 1 public intox, 7 DUIs over the month of November. Series of frauds this time of year with the holiday season. Track your packages that are being sent to your homes. Make sure if you know something's been delivered, have someone go by the house and secure it. We're getting a lot of thefts from residences on deliveries. And we had a warrant arrest out of Philadelphia. We also had a couple of 3 weapons violations in the schools. These are investigated by our school resource officer. None of them were involved in any specific crime. It was more of children accidentally or intentionally bringing things to school that they shouldn't be. They're all being handled by our school resource officer. In November 26th, our K-9 unit assisted Hatboro Police in late evening hours. They were dispatched to a possible rape with the suspect fleeing in a stolen vehicle. Vehicle was involved in a crash. Driver fled on foot. LMPD officers, including K-9 Thor and his handler Saman Hashimi, were able to locate the fleeing suspect hiding in a dumpster and taking him into custody. So it was a great job done by our K-9 unit. Detective Division provided an internet safety course over at St. Albert. Detectives Caltabiano and Brommer had a presentation at St. Albert's, a great school, provided students and teachers with presentations on internet safety, cyberbullying. Just another example where our department services all the schools and locations of education within our township. So they did a great job. We had 1,367 calls, 84 medical assistants, 18 fire calls. I know the fire chief will get into that. And we investigated 43 traffic accidents. So that is kind of the rundown on some of our activities in November.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the board? From the public? No? Thank you very much, Chief. Fire Marshal Shelley.
Good evening, Commissioners. A couple of quick things here. The USAR team, the Urban Service and Rescue Team from Montgomery County, had placed a new high water collapse rescue truck in service. If you want to go to the county website, they have a few pictures and a good description of it. Rich Worthington, my Deputy Director of Emergency Management, myself, we attended the Eastern Montgomery County Emergency Management meeting this month. We did discuss the final draft, hopefully, of the mutual aid agreement, and that was given to the townships and boroughs, and hopefully end of January, beginning of February, we'll have that signed and in place. Couple things just on property maintenance and fire investigations. We met with Parcel, so we're going to have an additional meeting with them on electric vehicles and storage. This is an ongoing issue throughout, not only our township, but other townships with electric vehicles, as far as parking and the storage and the use of those as far as the charging units. So we'll be doing some more research on that. Code Enforcement Officer Ted and I, we were contacted by Lower Orem Police. We worked with them when Lower Orem Police had found a individual sleeping in a commercial building up on Franks Road. I want to thank them for their work with that. We took care of the individual, and there was a couple fire code violations, which I'll be working on with the owner as the file is still open. The high school, we're ramping up our inspections. We're going to get really busy between now and the February date. They did start the bi-directional amplifier, which is to improve the radio and phone communications in the high school. So we'll be testing that with fire and police sometime, if not the end of December, it'll probably be sometime in January. And I just want to, I did thank this last month, but the class did partake. We had the IAAI arson investigators. We had an 8-hour class. Lower Moreland Township was one of the sponsors. I just want to thank Chris Hoffman for spearheading this with me. We got everything taken care of. We had about 32 students from as far as Ohio and DC. And we also had the county DA's office and detective's office were also in the class. So hopefully we'll have additional training in 2024. All I have.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Anything from the public? Thank you, Bob.
Thanks.
Chief Showmaker.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. As you see in front of you, I've submitted a written report. My reports are joint reports between the two communities as we agreed upon. Just to highlight a few items from the Lower Moreland side of things. I've met with the membership of the Huntingdon Valley Fire Company. We had a good meeting. It was a chance for me to get to meet most of their folks. I haven't met everybody yet, but we spent some time going over some of the things we're looking to do in the future. A couple concerns that the membership had, was able to provide them with factual information, and a lot of them appreciated that. Received calls from a number of them the next day with that. So that was successful. We met with the Emergency Service Committee, as we just talked about. There's an Emergency Service Committee that comprised of two municipalities and myself. We discussed a number of items, some things in the works that we're looking at, some legal questions we had. We wanted to get the solicitors involved with, and we're waiting some answers on that. We've attended the Lower Moreland Township budget presentations. We presented the information for both fire and EMS, and as of tonight, the budget's been passed, which is good, which will allow us to move on with some of our initiatives. I'll talk a little bit about them at the end of my report here. We've met with the Huntingdon Valley shift program leader from the fire company. We were going over some of the policies and procedures and talking a little bit about the budgets and trying to make sure that we stay within those budgeted amounts. They've given me access now into that system so I can see who's working, and we're tracking what's actually happening there, and that's been successful. I've met with the ladder truck committee of the Huntingdon Valley Fire Company. I wanted to get a chance to sit down with that group and find out exactly what they've done in the past, how they got to where they were, looking at what they want to do in the future. As some of you may have seen, last week we were able to bring in a second manufacturer. We were looking at an alternative truck to the truck they were looking at before that. We had two trucks actually come in that day that you may have seen them around town. We were demonstrating them, showing the members of the truck committee. We took them out to a couple different areas in the two communities to see how they worked out. It was a successful day. I know that the truck committee is actually discussing some of this, and hopefully we can come to consensus on which direction we want to go in the very near future. I want to move that program along. I know it's been hanging on for a long time, but now it's time to bring it to the end, and let's get moving forward with that. Attended Lower Moreland Township Commissioners meetings, as you know, was at the last one. We gave you a brief report there. Since that time, I've attended the Montgomery County EMS Strategic Plan Kickoff meeting. The Montgomery County EMS department is actually going to start a study on the EMS system for all of Montgomery County. They're trying to get an overview of this current status of EMS and what the future is going to require for EMS. As most of you know, we talked about it during the budget presentations. The emergency medical system is in real dire straits, not only in Montgomery County, but across the country. And the demand for EMS is so great and the resources are so limited. We're trying to find that balance as to what is right for not only locally, but on a nationwide. Which leads me to some of the initiatives that with the new budget being approved that we're looking to do. I've put together two trials that we're going to attempt with the EMS folks, and the goals is to try to track what works best for both communities. We're looking at bringing up a second ambulance 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in that, what we're trying to capture is how to best cover the two communities, because our primary ambulance may be out to other communities covering as they cover us on the calls. And we were looking at a way to try to make sure that our ambulance is the one that's covering the folks in the two communities when the calls come in. Secondly, and there's another trial that we're going to look at on the second half of that, is bringing both ambulances up at the same time to see what kind of revenues could be generated to offset the cost. Obviously, it's not a inexpensive proposition, and it requires some additional funding to do this, but We want to try to take a look at that. I developed a matrix as to what we want to capture. We'll take the data that comes from that, and we'll look at the statistics, put it together and see what works best, and that's what we're going to receive from there. So we'll see how that goes. Those folks are on board. I'm meeting tomorrow night with their employees to go over some of these changes without getting into them because they haven't been made aware of them yet, but there are some significant changes to the delivery models that we're going to be making to try to enhance the program, not only for the citizens, but also the employees. I met with the township manager just to bring them up to date on some of the other projects we're working on. And most recently, we were able to locate, with the help of the Public Works Department, a vehicle for my position, and it's been placed into service. To give you a few call statistics, I'm going to do the EMS first. The Brenathan Fire Company emergency medical calls in Brenathan were 5 for the month. In Lower Moreland, there was 111. That's quite a bit more than normal. There was 42 other calls. It could be any other calls that they're going out to cover in Montgomery County or dispatched to were in Bucks County. Year to date EMS calls, there are 1,720 calls for service that were handled. In the Huntingdon Valley Fire Company calls in Lower Moreland, 19. In Brenathan, 4. Fire calls other, which would be outside the area, 1, and their call volume year to date has been reported to me to be 368 fire calls. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board?
What is an EMS delivery model?
How we deploy the resources that we have, we're trying to look at, again, they're up 24/7 with a primary ambulance. There's some additional staffing that's on it, and then we're going to enhance that staffing to bring that second ambulance up to try to cover. They call them scratch calls. We changed that terminology. That's not a good terminology. It's on another call type setup. So if they're deployed out to another call within our 2 communities or outside of it, we're going to be able to cover that second call with our own staff in-house. That's the goal to do that. It provides 2 things. One, it provides us with our own folks handling the service and providing the service to the community that knows the community. And 2, it gives us the opportunity to reap that revenue that would go with that call. So that's how we're trying to offset that.
That's what we gave you funding for.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions from the public? Mr. McVeigh.
It's 2472 Dale Road. Chief, you said 111 in Lower Moreland.
That's correct.
EMS calls?
Yes.
How many of them went to our assisted living facilities here in Lower Moreland?
I don't have that breakdown. I can find that out. I've been told that there's been an increase in that, but I haven't seen that. There, I will say this, there was a meeting that occurred with the Brenathan Fire Company executive group, and was it Crestview? Is that the name of the?
Crescent Fields.
Crescent Fields. And what was learned was they were calling a private ambulance company to come in and handle 911 emergencies. It was done by accident, and so the system was bypassed as to what normally was happening. So where Brenathan Fire Company ambulance should have been the primary ambulance dispatch to that. So those numbers would be skewed, but within the next 2 or 3 months, I think we can kind of track that. But there's quite a bit of calls to the different assisted living facilities. But it's like anybody else, they need EMS service. They got to call. 911 is where they call, and no matter where it is, that's where we go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jeff, what was the number you wanted for November and the number of dispatches there?
No, the chief gave it 111 for Lower Moreland.
Yeah, but you were asking specifically regarding Crescent Fields.
Oh, no, in general, in Lower Moreland. There's several of them, so as we know. And are they the amount of calls to the Brenathan EMS service?
35.
35
for between Huntingdon Valley Nursing and Rehab, Gloria Day Towers, Gloria Day Manor, Artist Senior Living. Carson Terrace is also in there, and Crescent Fields, but Carson Terrace was at 0 for the month.
They're not officially in.
Carson Terrace isn't assisted living or anything, that's general public, so that doesn't even matter.
They're not assisted living, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
All right. Next up on my agenda is my liaison reports. First one's going to be AAA. Basketball season is gonna be kicking off shortly, and looking forward to the in-house. I know my kids are as well, as I'm sure most of the kids in the community. Playing. Second one is regarding the Huntingdon Valley Library. Let me pull that up for you. They held their 70th anniversary party on December the 1st. It was great. There was music provided by the Moreland Township Jazz Band, and there was a wine tasting provided by Some Winery, which is located in Fetters Mill Square. It was excellent. I attended it. It was very well attended. The library would like to thank all the township employees and the commissioners for their 70 years of support as well. Pictures and samples of new furniture and small meeting room pods were available for the attendees to view. What this is like a modular selection where you can go into these little pods and have a private space if the library is too loud or to do individual meetings. It was actually pretty unique how they had that set up. Some larger events are planned for 2024 as follows. During Black History Month on February 22nd at 7 p.m. Melissa and Sparks will present a Harriet Tubman Living History Experience. During Women's History Month on March 21st at 7 p.m. Monica Hoffman will present Determined Spirit, the story of Amelia Earhart. And both of these programs will be held in the community room and are appropriate for grades 4 and up. Any questions for me on my liaison reports? That's all I have. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Sirkin.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're up.
You want to catch your breath or you want to go? Okay.
Who's next? I'll just give you.
Yeah. I'm gonna go out of order while Commissioner Pace gets organized. The chair now recognizes Commissioner Housen, Chair of the Public Property Committee.
Let me get to my section.
Thanks, Bruce.
No problem. So we have to do some work on our sewer problems. Our sewer system, not a problem. One of the issues that we need to do is buy a new pump for the Bathurst pump station. And that is part of the capital projects that we have in play. We're trying to get our sewer system modernized, as it's been around for quite a while, and to replace those things. So we solicited computerized pricing for the pump, and we've got a quote from Kappa Associates for $60,000 for the pump and $23,000 for the motor and base. We have sufficient funds in the capital reserves for this project, and it was an expected project. It will take about 6 months lead time to get those things. In the course of that, we will get a quote for the installation, especially of the motor. So we would like to have the board authorize a cost not to exceed $100,000 for the all the particular items that this is: the 60 pump, the 23 motor and base, and then the installation as well.
And then since I wrote that memo, we had our quarterly staff meeting with our sewer department. So just because that quote was originally from September, we wanted to make sure that that was still current. So Mike McCree went back to the provider, and the combined cost, rather than that $83,000, is actually now $78,875. So it actually came back a little bit less than the original proposal. So I'd still recommend that the board do the not to exceed $100,000, just in the event that it complicates this process. But really that price should come in at the $78,875. And then, as you said, it's likely that we'll have to do like a public bid for its installation. If that service is available through CoStars, we would compare that. But it's most likely that sometime in the first 6 months of next year, we'll bring back first authorization to advertise a bid, and then second, the actual award of that bid, to be able to time that with when the equipment actually comes in.
Okay, so do I change the motion or do I keep it at 83?
So I would change the motion for the CoStars price that we've now gotten, which is $78,875. But then with that, still the secondary component that's in the sample motion, with the total cost not to exceed $100,000.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion. Oh, does anybody have any questions? I'm sorry, on the board. Public? Nope, okay. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Kappa Associates Inc. quote in the amount of $78,875 with a total cost not to exceed $100,000.
Second.
It's been motioned and second to authorize the Cap Association Corporate quote as described. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
My liaison positions are Lower Moreland Township Authority, which does not meet again until January, and the Building Code Board of Appeals, which has never met. So I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Ready, Joe? You want me to sing a song or chat or?
I was hoping saying.
I'm not offering to dance. No dance.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Pace, Chair of the Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Doc. Item O, review and consider authorization to bid the 2024 paving program. So Steve's going to be preparing bids for the 2024 paving program recommendation for the upcoming year for mostly the roads that were impacted by the Agua project. So we want to put them out to bid as soon as possible so we get the job done. Any questions from the board? From the public? So I'd like to make a motion to authorize advertising a bid for the 2024 paving program as described in Director Warner's memo.
Second.
It has been motioned and second to authorize advertising a bid for the 2024 paving program as described. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
And then just also for the board's reference, there was a subsequent memo that detailed each of those streets. So as Commissioner Pace said, the bulk of those are around those Aqua project areas. There's also two alternates that are actually, there's four alternates plus the Bernathen.
Do you want to just name them?
So yeah, real quick, I'll just run through it. So base bid, the main one, Buck Road, County Line to Byberry. So that's where Aqua just finished that project. We have Bilger, Laurel and Sipler. Dilworth Circle, Gant, which is from Bilger to Huntingdon Pike based off of a recent Aqua project, and then Stephen, Michael, and Pineview. Then alternate one is Shadywood Circle, Burnett and Leadham. Alternate two is Longview, Carissa, and Lisa. One caveat for that one is that separate of the pricing we get for that, the timing of the Longview Drive Basin retrofit project could impact our ability to do that, so we will just keep that in mind. Alternate three is Coach Light and Cranberry, and alternate four is Woodward and Newell. And then there would be the fifth alternate, that would be the Bernathen Borough, whatever route they tell us we would get them. Their pricing, invoice them with their exact amount, so that's a zero sum on our side of things. But that's the scope of what we would be seeking pricing for. We'd set expectations, obviously, we will be able to do the base, and then hopeful that one of the alternates will fit in. And then Steve is also reserving funds within the paving budget to do another round of the sealing program that we did in 2023 that I think has kind of, at least in year one, was very successful. The contract that we had done for that actually had that pricing held for a number of years. So we'll review that specific language and then bring back a program scope to the board to confirm the kind of extension of that contract. So we'll review that and bring that to the board at some point in early 2024.
Down to item P, review and consider a certificate of appropriateness. 23-05, the application of Rich and Karen James, 2373 Huntington Pike, who seek permission to replace one existing freestanding sign on Huntington Pike and add one freestanding sign on Ann Street. The applicants also seek to add black metal rounds on both street frontages as shown in option A. The board finds the ordered sign acceptable and recommends the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness for that. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion for 23-05 to issue the certificate of appropriateness.
Second.
It's been motion and second to approve the certificate of appropriateness. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Item 2 is Public Works. Hand it over to Steve so he can give us an update.
Just a couple of things. Leaf collection is finished this week, so that's this week. We'll make sure every pile that's out there is picked up. And that should be the last week. Went pretty smooth this year. It's nice and dry until this past week, but so that program is on schedule. We were able to squeeze in the sign project on Hairston, so that's complete. We had a couple calls about some muddy water on Thompson Road and on inlet we have right on the S-bend. That was from the church school in Bernathen, so we worked out that and Engineer Woodrow. And as you mentioned with Red Line Gym, we're gonna increase our cleanings there, probably gonna have to have our contractor go in there a couple more times, and Public Works will try to assist with that.
Anything for Steve?
What's the mulching coming?
We've already got rid of about 2,000 yards. It's actually right here at the high school. The Blair used it all to do the bottom of those basins. So once again, I tell you, our mulch is the best. They like it so much, they're coming in for a couple more trailer loads tomorrow. So as soon as we're processing it, it's set now.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. The last item is item R, which is my liaison, which is R, which we already reflected on item T. There's nothing else to report.
Thank you, Commissioner Pace. The chair now recognizes Commissioner Odner, Chair of the Ordinance Committee.
Thank you. My first item is item U, zoning hearing board agenda and decisions. There is no zoning hearing board meeting in December as no applications were received, and application number 23-18 was continued to January due to the applicant's attorneys being unavailable. And then the zoning hearing board did make one decision at their November meeting, application number 23-17, the application of Anatoly Kremer and Emma Brazilian, who sought a variance to permit an increase of the permitted lot coverage from 25% to 25.9% to permit construction of a 404 square foot deck and covered area in their rear yard. The variance was granted. And then V, my liaison report, is the Pennypack Ecological Restoration Trust. They have some upcoming events. I know that Chuck is really excited about the eco-mindfulness and sweetgrass.
Sweetgrass.
Sweetgrass. He may or may not give us a presentation later.
It's very white and grow.
And then also there is a Christmas bird count on Saturday, December 16th. So very exciting things have occurred. Again, everyone should join it. If you want to preserve your open space. So that is all. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Odner. That completes our published agenda items. Is there any public participation on non-agenda items? Sir, come on up.
Marty George, Dale Road. This is a continuing issue that I want to pursue until it gets settled out, and that is the Western loose ends. The last meeting I attended, I was informed that this fence, chain link fence, was not going to be replaced. Before I go any further, I want to go on record in saying when Western first did their sales pitch, and we got to speak to some of their planners and architects, I asked them directly if that chain link fence was going to remain, and I was told yes. Shouldn't that constitute something legally? I'm just throwing that out there. That's grinding on me. It's like a betrayal type of thing. And the fact that when it was brought up to them, what we have discovered, they first said, well, that was already there. That damage was already there. The township accepted that answer. Which that's not true, and everybody knows that. These are, it's like a lame response from this outfit. So going forward, I'd like a little bit more advocacy from the township for this problem. It's as simple as that. It shouldn't be this hard. Do we have anybody from the township that can interact with these owners and get some results? Is it a dead end? So that's my biggest question. Do you have any more news?
Yeah, I do not, Mark. I do know that there's a couple of documents that are still an obligation of Western to provide to us. The first is that notice of termination of their permit with DEP for all the earth moving and stormwater controls. And the second is an acknowledgement from FEMA that the site was built in conformance with the conditional letter of map revision regarding the floodplain. I know those documents have been submitted to those agencies, and I guess those agencies are in the process of reviewing. I've not seen anything in the way of a review from either DEP or FEMA on those topics. We do have a couple other open punch list kind of things out there that still remain, but as of this moment, I do not have any more information on that.
Okay. The original site plan shows that fence in their plan. Do they have the right not to have it there, or is that a violation of the plan? That's somebody's got to answer that.
Tim, who owns the fence? Isn't that Septis? Wasn't that?
Yeah, we determined the fence was actually not Septis.
So,
But it's on Septis property.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it appears that that entire length of fence that goes behind not only the western property, but to the property to the west, and it goes all the way down to the self-storage facility, appears to have originated at the time when those properties were industrially used, when it was the old factory and the other Butterworth factory. It seems like that fence dates back till then. There has been some repair of that fence. The self-storage facility replaced it, probably because of their security concerns with regard to the self-storage facility. But the fence is in, all kinds of different configurations all the way along that stretch that appears to be. I don't know that, and again, Mark, this is only my opinion, I'm not sure it's a legal opinion, but it's certainly that fence, if it's owned by Western, there's no obligation under the code to have that fence remain. If they wanted to take that fence completely down tomorrow, I think they could. There is the white vinyl fence that is up, serves much of the same purpose. But again, I think that chain link fence goes back to a day when that was an industrial facility.
Well, that's true. It goes back that far, but here's I could almost guarantee you that from Tomlinson Road West, every parcel along those railroad tracks has a fence. And that's pretty telling.
What's interesting is that Drever does not.
That's pretty news to me.
I was curious because when I was just last spring, I guess, Mark, we started doing a lot more research on this fence. I walked the whole length of that track to see where that fence was and where it kind of originated from. And it was interesting that as you go from the western property toward Drever Heat Treating, the fence turns and comes down a bit on the western property line. And so that's what led me to my conclusion that was probably installed by whoever was making the cinder block there back in the day.
Okay. And then last but not least, you're aware that they removed the fence that was crushed and left it's an incomplete job now. That's aesthetically, that's not a good look. It's not a good response from a big outfit like that to the township. Does anyone in the township agree with that or disagree with that? I'd like to know. It's as simple as that. I have one more thing here with the, and again, it's shown on the original plans. I think that means something. The original plans also show the emergency exits that come from off of Red Line Road and off of the 2389 Philmont property. They're supposed to be locked. Am I correct?
Yeah, Chuck, I believe there is, or Mark, there is to be gates.
Okay.
That are accessible by the emergency services.
There is no lock chain on the 2381 egress road. It's used heavily. It's never been blocked off. And I can see it plainly from my house. I saw several cars come in the dark, the headlights. So they're using that as a thoroughfare. So, you know, if they're gonna run tough with the township with response, I think that should be handled. It's not, you know, that's not what it should be, so. But if I could get some answers for the legality of this fence issue, I'd like to hear it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Please join us next door for some refreshments courtesy of the SIRKEN family after the meeting. There's a motion and a second, John. Are all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Well, did